All right, today in this 2010 Ford Taurus, we're going to install part number C56093. This is a Curt T connector vehicle wiring harness with 4-pole flat trailer connector. Okay, now we'll need access to our wiring, so we need to open up the trunk. Now wiring connections are going to be behind the taillights, so to get access to the panels behind them, we have to remove the threshold and the floor coverings. Let's go ahead and pull the weather strip back a little bit. Sometimes you can do this, sometimes you can't, but it makes it easier to get underneath the threshold. Pop it loose. I'm just using a plastic pry bar here to get underneath of it. Gently pry up to unsnap it. There's a snap here, here. There's a snap here. One right here. Okay. And all it is, pull it straight up, and the remaining two came loose. Now I'll go ahead and work on this panel here. There's a plastic rivet that we have to remove. Trim panel tool works the best on these guys. This tie down point just unscrews. And these points right here, just unscrew these as well. We'll go ahead and pull this little fastener back as well. We can go ahead and pull back our panel now and get it out of our way. And then here we can find our access point for a wire harness. Okay, our driver's side is done. Let's go ahead and repeat on the passenger side. Here's our connection point on the passenger side. Let's go ahead and make our electrical connections. Let's go ahead and disconnect by pushing on this tab right here. We can pull it apart. Okay. Then our T connector will go right back into place. And we're working with the T connector with the yellow wire. Now I'll go on the driver's side. Now let's go ahead and work for white wire with the ring terminal. That's our ground, and we'll attach it to the sheet metal right here. All right, now let's work for a T connector with the green wire, and we'll go ahead and run that over to the passenger side. And we'll go ahead and make our hookup right here. Now we'll go ahead and work with the black wire that's from the module here. We're going to connect to it the longer piece of black wire that comes with the kit. We'll use the included butt connector to make our connections. All right, now we'll go ahead and run our black wire up to a 12-volt power supply. To do that, we have to get outside the vehicle, underneath, and back up towards the battery. So we're going to remove this grommet right here. We'll make a cut in it and poke our wire through. Here's our grommet. Let's make a small cut in it. Go ahead and run our wire through. Route our wire through the hole, then we'll reinstall the grommet. One note, we pulled our panel back a little bit farther than normal just so you can see this back here. You typically probably don't have to pull the panel all the way off to see this. Although it does help. Okay, next go ahead and mount our module. We'll attach it to the sheet metal right here. We'll make sure it's clean. Then we'll use the adhesive that comes with the kit to attach it. Okay, now we'll go ahead and take up our slack for wires. Okay, and then our green wire going across, there's not much to zip tie to, so I'm just going to clean up this area too. And I'm going to use some packing tape to help hold it in place while I put the cover back on, and that'll hold it in place afterwards. Okay, at this point we can go ahead and put our interior back together. I unplugged the interior light here just to give us some more working room to see. So we'll plug that back in and put our panel back up. And as we do this, we want to make sure that our 4-pole wire harness stays with the spare tire. Now when we put our panel back in its place, we got these hooks to go into the open holes inside the steel. Okay. Get it about centered. Make sure the catches are lined up. It should be good to push down. Okay. Put my weather strip back into place. We'll go ahead and put our floor covering back in. Then we'll go ahead and run our black wire up towards the battery. We'll go ahead and run our wire up towards the front. Now when we do this, we want to stay away from anything moving like the suspension components or anything hot like the exhaust. And when we go up towards the front of the vehicle, we want to stay away from the steering components as well. Okay, to help pull the wire up, we're going to use this loom clamp right here, part number A0250. Now we're also going to use a self-tapping screw, much like the screw we used for the ground on our vehicle earlier. However, this does not come with the kit, neither does this, but you can find these screws at a local hardware store. Now the screw we're using is a number 8 screw with a self-tapping bit that uses a 1/4 inch nut driver. Now we'll go ahead and show you how we ran the wire. Now this is pretty much personal preference, but we'll show you how we did it. Here's a wire through the grommet, ran it over this line right here, and around and on top of the rear suspension assembly. We got a zip tie hanging out to show you that we found an opening that we could zip tie it with right here. And we continued on over rear suspension and basically followed the parking brake cable all the way up towards the front. To where at this point here, we're ready to go up and over this body mount here for front suspension. We use a loom clamp. You can see up in here we made one more tie down point with a zip tie to help hold our wire in place and stay away from the steering components. Now to help pull our wire up from the bottom, we're going to use an old piece of airline tubing. Now this also could be a piece of wire that holds its shape. You can just guide it down to where you want it. In this case, we're going to try to stay along with the lines underneath and stay away from the steering components at the bottom. Let's go ahead and just run it down there. Then we'll go ahead and connect our wire to the bottom and pull it back up from the top. Now here's our airline tubing that ran down from the top to the bottom. We'll go ahead and attach our wire to our airline tubing, in this case by pushing it in place. Let's go ahead and pull the wire back up and through. It's a good idea to double check it to make sure it's routed the way you want it. We'll go ahead and pull it up. And I think we'll go ahead and zip tie to this brace right here. And then we'll go ahead and start working our connection to the battery. Now pretty much at this point, we already ran out of zip ties. So it's always a good idea when you do electrical, get yourself some more zip ties when you do this work. Because you never know how many you're going to need. Okay, this will be your attachment point right here, the positive side of the battery. and we'll use this stud to make our connection. We'll go ahead and cut our wire to length, and then we're going to add a fuse holder. All right, let's go ahead and strip our wire, and we'll add our fuse holder. Now, a fuse holder does come with the kit. To make our connection, we'll use a butt connector and a ring terminal. This is our butt connector to connect to our black wire. On the other end, we'll get the ring terminal. We'll add some electric tape to help protect the connections, since this connection will be somewhat outside. With our connection complete, we'll go ahead and attach it to the positive side of our battery. Let's go ahead and follow the factory wire harness. And we're just going to stack this on top of the nut and use a new nut to help hold it in place. Okay, now the fastener we're using is a zinc-plated hex flange nut, 6mm, part number 1859116. Let's go ahead and add our fuse to the fuse holder. It's a 10 amp fuse that comes with the kit. We'll put the cover back into place. Let's go ahead and tuck it alongside the battery. We'll put this cover back onto place. To test our 4-pole wire harness, we'll go ahead and ground our tester to the white wire. Then we'll test our brown wire for running light circuit. Yellow for our left turn signal, and green for a right turn signal. Then our brake signal will be a constant signal on the yellow and green wires. With everything working, we'll go ahead and put our cap on our 4-pole. Then we'll go ahead and show you how to use it. Okay, when you need to use it, just open up the hatch and go ahead and pull some out, and then shut the hatch on it. Stay away from the center of the latch here, because that'll smash the wire and you'll be starting all over. So let's pull off to the side and shut the hatch on it, and then pull out what we need to go down to our hitch. And when it's not being used, we can go ahead and hide it with the spare tire. And that way it's protected and it won't sit there and get exposed to the elements when it's not being used. Okay, with that, that'll finish it for our install, part number C56093 from Curt. The T-connector vehicle wiring harness with a 4-pole flat trailer connector on our 2010 Ford Taurus.